Welcome to the RadioU podcast. Coming up, why the fountain of youth may be COVID.
Also, American's perfect salary isn't so perfect after all.
All that and more on the way next. It's time for our Monday tradition, the box office breakdown, looking at what made money and what didn't in the theaters over the weekend. Let us know what you've seen lately. We love to see your reviews at 8772 RadioU. I'll tell you what made money over the weekend. The number one movie in America, The Conjuring, Last Rites.
All right.
It is number one by far. It made $83 million in North America.
What?
I'm telling you, Allie, it doesn't matter how bad your horror movie is. Apparently, September, October roll around, people will go see it.
People are ready for spooky season.
Yeah. This is, it's big. If you look at it's a Warner Brothers movie.
Yeah.
Another number one for them. Another number one horror movie for them. They've had a bunch this year that made a bunch of money. And The Conjuring Last Rites, despite it supposedly being the last Conjuring movie, right?
And also the most mid-sounding Conjuring movie because the reviews were not amazing for it. They weren't terrible, but they were not amazing for it.
Right. And yet, not only is it number one, it's also the biggest opening weekend ever for anything in the Conjuring verse.
It sounds like it. And making $80 million, that's on par with some of the superhero movies lately.
So how can they possibly stop? How can they possibly stop making the Conjuring movies?
I think this year, to me, has been a sign that Warner Brothers needs to go all in on the horror genre.
Yeah. I hate that sign, but it seems to be correct.
They kind of took a break from it for a little bit. They kind of were the horror studio, but they took a break and they let, Blumhouse be that for a little bit. And so now I think Warner Brothers, I'm sure they know. They need to go full in on the horror.
It seems like they've already really leaned into it. But it is interesting that, and for The Conjuring, Last Rites, and Final Destination Bloodlines, which is another one that did really well, it's both of them are supposed to be like the last one, right?
I'm not sure about Final Destination, but definitely Last Rites, I heard that this was the final one for The Conjuring.
It's interesting if that plays a role in people going to see it. And if they try to come out with another one, will it have the, if it's starting something anew and afresh, will it still have the same cachet? Also, it really, to me, makes Megan 2 seem bad. That it's like the one horror movie that did not take off at all this year. Hamilton, yes, that Hamilton was number 2 at the box office. That made $10 million. And number 3, still Weapons, with another $5 million. Let us know what you've seen at 8772 RadioU. I've got a couple of interesting things I watched over the weekend that I have to report back on. Hopefully, Allie, you do too.
I do have something interesting that I watched that even I was surprised that I watched this.
Okay. Let us know what you've watched lately. We just talked about the box office breakdown, The Conjuring Last Rites, coming in at number 1 with $83 million. A big weekend for The Conjuring Last Rites. Allie, what is the last thing you watched?
Weirdly enough, what I watched over the weekend was Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Oh, why did you watch that?
I have no idea. I just turned it on and I was like, I kind of forgot this existed. And I think I'm I'm trying to make Superman appear on my HBO Max profile somehow, so I don't have to pay $19.99 to watch it.
Okay.
Because I really do want to watch it.
Yeah,
but
it should be here soon.
Yeah, I believe I've heard rumors that it's going to be either this month or next month. So I'm hoping that is true. But I was just looking through the DC, profile that they have on HBO Max, and I was like, is Superman here yet? No, it's not there. And I saw Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I was like, you know what? I watched this when this first came out, which is Zack Snyder's extended cut of Justice League. So what we got with Justice League was actually a cut-up version that Joss Whedon ended up doing. Looked like it was filmed on a soundstage. It was terrible. One of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. But I actually really like Zack Snyder's Justice League, even though it's 4 hours long. I did not watch all 4 hours, by the way. I just watched part 1 because it's divided into several parts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, 4 hours would have been too long for theaters, but if Zack Snyder had his way, you think it would have done better? people would have been so harsh on it.
I think so, because Zack Snyder, unfortunately, if you don't know the circumstances around that movie, his daughter died, and so he had to step away while he was directing, and it was very early on in production, and so Joss Whedon came in, there was lots of rewrites, reshoots, all of these things, and so what we ended up getting was a totally different movie, so I was really happy Warner Brothers did kind of throw a bone to Zack Snyder to give him an opportunity to show us all what we should have gotten.
Yeah. Interesting. I watched 2 more recent things.
Okay.
I'll start with The Paper. I watched the first episode of The Paper on Peacock.
All right.
And I will give it another episode, or probably a few.
Okay.
Because what I feel is that it's a spinoff of The Office.
Yep.
They're trying to modernize The Office, or, breathe fresh life into it. And the thing with The Office is it's so personality driven, of like, you totally understand, like, so much of the comedy comes from Dwight's personality, Stanley's personality, obviously Michael Scott. And so they have to establish all the personalities in the show before they can go too deep and before you're going to laugh with them. And so they really lay it on thick with the personality. And you could go back to the original Office and they would do this too. And it feels a little too much, but I think once you know who the characters are, there's a chance it will feel like a different version of The Office.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm hoping. It was good enough. It wasn't cringe enough for me to give up on it because I trust the people involved.
Okay.
I also watched the movie Friendship.
Oh, yes.
With Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd on HBO Max. And it is more of a hour and a half I think you should leave sketch than I was expecting it to be. I was expecting it to feel more of its own thing, but except it's filled with a lot more dread. It almost feels like a horror movie because you're just waiting for something to go wrong the entire time.
Interesting.
You're just waiting for the next thing to go wrong. And but it is very funny. And if you like, I think you should leave. You like Tim Robinson. You're just getting a lot of that.
It's right up your alley.
In a very extended version. So I liked it a lot. It kind of wasn't fully what I was expecting, but I still was glad that I watched it. Let us know what you watch at 8772 Radio U. Like I said, we always like to hear your reviews. What was your favorite part of NFL Week 1? Let us know at 8772 Radio U. Was it the Packers' emphatic victory over the Lions? Or was it Aaron Rodgers looking like Aaron Rodgers of old and scoring 4 touchdowns and leading the Steelers to a revenge win over the Jets?
It was obviously the Buffalo Bills last night with Josh Allen in that crazy comeback in the fourth quarter.
That was your favorite part?
Yes.
You stayed up for that?
I did, because I'm not sure if you were aware of this, but if that game had gone in the direction of the Ravens, we would have tied for our picks this week. Mm-hmm. But because the Bills came back and won that game, I won the week.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew that was how it was going to go, but I still didn't want to stay up.
I was on the edge of my seat. I couldn't look away.
Yeah, but good for the Bills. That's impressive, and really more probably sad for the Ravens that they just choke away another game against a big name team.
They were up by 15 in the fourth quarter, so it was pretty surprising that they couldn't hold on.
But let's back up and reverse a little bit to how I picked the Steelers to beat the Packers in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you did.
And if you look on our social media, you can see how everybody is they were having a laugh.
They're clowning your picks.
Everybody was having a laugh. Well, who's laughing now? Because who expected, I thought the Steelers would win against the Jets. Who expected them to put up 34 points for Aaron Rodgers to score 4 touchdowns? Hello. That's MVP caliber performance right there. And then even more impressive, I think, was how the Packers basically, even with Micah Parsons playing sparingly, didn't allow the Lions to do a whole heck of a lot of anything on offense. And the Packers themselves were hitting on a ton of big plays. It was that was one of the most dominating wins of the day of all the games.
I would say the Packers far more impressive than the Steelers beating the Jets by 2 points. So, yeah, I think the Packers, they're for real this year.
Yeah. Yesterday was one of the most satisfying, definitely opening days of an NFL season in my life.
Not super satisfying for me because I watched the Browns just look so incompetent, especially when it came to kicking. I don't know why we can't get a kicker that can just kick the ball. And Oh my goodness, make a PAT. Would you please? So yeah, not a very satisfying Sunday of football for me when it came to my Brownies.
That's tough. The NFL, and the Falcons would join you in saying that they wish they just had a kicker indoors that could, because they lost their game on a missed field goal to tie the game in Atlanta, which is inside. But then you saw, like, in the Steelers game, Chris Boswell, who's
pretty good kicker.
He's pretty good, but he's on in years, should we say. And he, outdoors at the Jet Stadium, hit a 60-yarder to give the Steelers the win. And there's been a new rule where, like, kickers are allowed to, like, they get the balls that they're, if I'm remembering this right, they get the balls that they're going to be kicking with for the game like a week in advance or something like that.
Really?
So they, like, it's a new thing. And so, yeah, this year you should be seeing probably a better percentage of field goal makes and from longer distances, which you saw in the preseason as well. But apparently, I guess the Browns and Falcons didn't get that memo.
I was going to say that little tidbit of knowledge is not helping me out right now. That's making me feel worse this morning. He had the balls a week in advance and still missed a PAT
still didn't know what to do with
field
them.
goal?
Still didn't know. So what you said it, though, you did get the win once again in our RadioU football picks. And so that means I have to get punished. And the punishment, which you chose, is that I have to sing part of Gaston for some reason.
Yep.
So we'll do that coming up next, and we'll talk college later on this morning. We are about to do our football pick punishment. I don't know why we agreed to this, but every week we're doing 5 picks, college and NFL throughout the season. And then when we circle back on Monday, whoever did worse gets punished. This week's punishment, Allie, you picked it.
Yeah, it's to sing a portion of the song Gaston from Beauty and the Beast from the 1991 animated movie. There you
old,
go.
Huh?
Yeah, believe it or not. So yeah, that's the punishment. Do we want to go through the picks real quick?
Well, I mean, you went 3 and 2, right?
I went 3 and 2. You went 1 and 4. So you improved upon last week.
I did. And I feel like I did very well in games that we didn't select for our pick.
I was going to say, I also did well in games that we didn't pick. Like, I had South Florida beating Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another upset that I had as well. I can't remember what it is now. Or no, Baylor versus SMU, which I did put in our picks.
Yeah. But what counts is that I went 1 and 4, that I lost. And so now I have to sing Gaston, which I hate. I don't hate the song. I just hate that I have to do this. Gosh, I don't know when to start. Gosh, it disturbs me to see you, Gaston, looking so down in the dumps. Every guy here loved to be you, Gaston, even when taking your lumps. There's no man in town as admired as you. You're everyone's favorite guy. Everyone's awed and inspired by you, and it's not very hard to see why. No one's slick as Gaston, no one's quick as Gaston, no one's neck's as incredibly thick as Gaston. There's no one in town half as manly. Perfect, a pure paragon. You can ask any Tom, Dick, or Stanley, and they'd tell you whose team they'd prefer to be on. That's as far as we will go.
I am crying right now.
What is LeFou's relationship to Gaston?
A very strange one, I will admit.
In what real life scenario is there a Gaston and a LeFou? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, it's very weird.
It's uncomfortable to me. I was thinking.
Well, honestly, props to you. I am so impressed. That was great. You went fully in. I'm so happy that you went fully in and it didn't just it would have been really bad if it was in between. Yeah. What?
It would have been bad if it was in between.
Yeah, you need to go full in.
Like, either have to be comically bad or surprisingly good.
Yeah, exactly. And it was comically bad.
You know what my secret was?
What?
I was not thinking about Gaston. I was thinking about Aaron Rodgers.
Oh!
Picture this. The coolest car you can think of.
Ooh.
What's your dream car, Allie?
Oh, Bronco Raptor.
Oh, dang. I was out yesterday or 2 days ago, and I saw, as if it matters to anybody, I saw like one of the new Ford Broncos, but it was colored and everything like it was a classic Bronco.
Yes, that's what I like.
Such a Yep. I stopped in the middle of the crosswalk and was just going to let it run me over while I was admiring it because it looked so good. That's a great one. But, if you had one of those Ford Broncos and it looks obviously amazing, but you didn't have a battery in it, it wouldn't be much good.
No, you wouldn't be able to take it anywhere. It would look okay, but you couldn't use it.
Yeah, be pretty useless. You could have like a really cool idea of like where you want to go on a road trip with that Ford Bronco, but no battery inside. It's not going anywhere.
You're donezo.
And that's kind of us, where we can have a lot of good things going on in our lives, where we can make things look really good on the outside. And we can have really good ideas about what we want to accomplish and where we want to go. But if we don't have something to get us running, to get us there, then it's all for show. It's all for nothing.
Yeah.
That's what a relationship with Jesus is. He is the engine, the battery that gets you moving and gets you actually going towards your goals and make you whatever your life looks like worthwhile and more than just something that looks good online.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. He is the thing that keeps you going, keeps you running, and that's what we need in life because there's so many things that like just want to drain all the energy from us.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like.
right.
And
maybe your car was running and now it's just sitting in the driveway because you used it all up and you don't know where to refuel.
Right, your battery's just been drained, and so it's really important to have that thing that can fill you back up, and God is always that. The Bible actually describes it as like a cup running over. Like, so you can kind of envision that imagery of a cup just running over with water or whatever.
Yeah. Imagine having too much energy.
Yeah, right?
A battery that's too
full. We
full.
always talk about like, oh man, if only I had the energy of those little kids that are running around, like we always say stuff like that. But, you can. I don't know if you can go back to having that amount of energy.
Physically, not as much.
But, if in life, you can have that type of gusto once again.
Yeah. So if you're tired of just sitting in the driveway, you feel like you've got all the parts, but something's not making it go. That's what Jesus is. Jesus wants to get you to a destination that is amazing and sometimes look good doing it too if you want to find out what that's like, you can experience that. Just say, hey, Jesus, I need that in my life. I need that engine. I need that battery. I need it from you. And find out what happens. You want to know more? RadioU.com/free gift. What was the biggest headline of the college football weekend? Let us know at 8772-RADIO-U. Your thoughts. We do know that Allie did better with her football picks, including getting her upset special correct.
Yeah.
I've already been through my punishment. You'll have to check out the RadioU podcast for today if you missed that. But Allie, what was your biggest headline of the college football weekend?
Honestly, we saw a lot of teams go crazy, score like 70 points. I think we had at least 3 teams do that. That was like Ohio State. We saw Oregon do that. Florida State, Alabama. So even more teams than initially I thought that were scoring 70 plus points. So it was a week where there was a lot of lopsided games, but also get right games for teams like Texas, Alabama. I think you saw some bounce backs where, their quarterbacks are gaining some confidence. Their offenses are gaining some confidence. So you like to see that for those teams. So I don't know if I have like a major storyline. I did text you over the weekend because I got to be honest, the team that's really disappointing so far, which again, I don't have them in my playoffs, so I don't know how disappointing they are for me because I kind of thought that they were going to be not great. Clemson. They looked pretty pedestrian against Troy. In fact, at one point we're down like 16-0 against Troy. Came back to win the game, looked better in the second half. But I think this almost guarantees them another loss this season, at least one more.
Yeah.
To look that bad against Troy.
They've got some other tough games coming up. In fact, I almost, in a way, you can excuse the Troy game just because sometimes teams, when they're in a sandwich spot in a way, they will come out a little bit slow and, eventually usually figure things out.
You would think they'd want to bounce back after losing to LSU in the fashion they did. You would think they would want to make a statement like what Alabama did. Alabama came out, they scored 70 points because they're like, all right, guys, stop panicking. Kalen DeBoer's fine. Ty Simpson's fine.
Right.
We're going to be okay. They made a statement. But Clemson came out and was like, what's this team doing? 16-0?
Yeah, I think they might have been, and this is not to say that Clemson still isn't in trouble, but maybe they were looking ahead because they have a tough game on the schedule this week against Georgia Tech on the road. And I, in our podcast previewing the season, said that Georgia Tech has a shot to be in the playoff. So I think Clemson might have been just, you don't prepare the way you should, or you don't have the motivation you should, even after a big loss. I think the big headline this weekend was Florida getting upset.
Oh.
Like, we're talking about Clemson almost losing.
Yeah.
How about Florida losing to South Florida? And how about some credit to South Florida, who's now ranked and beaten 2 ranked teams already, and well on their way, even this early in the season, to being the heavy favorite to be in the honestly, they're one of the most likely teams to be in the college football playoff at this point.
Honestly, just to give you a little preview on my upset special, there's a chance I might pick them to beat Miami because they have a lot of confidence that they're playing with right now because they're beating teams that a lot of people are not predicting them to beat, obviously. No one picked South Florida to beat Florida.
Right.
And Florida may end up being a pedestrian team. We'll see. We don't really know.
Even if Florida goes 6-6, it's still impressive for South Florida to ever beat them.
Yeah. They had never beaten them. I watched the fourth quarter of that game, and the announcers on the SEC network were like, really not happy that South Florida was playing that well. But they were like, yeah, this is the first time South Florida has ever beaten Florida. And so it was a huge win for them. They're at Florida, so on the road. But yeah, they've got a big game coming up against Miami this weekend. That's going to be exciting. And if they somehow pull off another upset, so beat 3 ranked teams in a row, that's the best we've seen so far in college football, just schedule-wise.
Right.
So they got to be, I think, put them in the top 5 at that point.
What about the one good thing for the SEC is that while Florida did lose in an embarrassing fashion, Mississippi State with the win over Arizona State.
That was huge.
How about for the SEC, one of the bottom quarter of their teams for sure, if not maybe a little lower, at least so people thought.
They were one of the worst teams last year.
Taking out a team that made it to the playoff last year and that was roundly expected to be in the playoff this year in Arizona State. It shows how strong the SEC really is top to bottom.
Well, how strong it can be, but it's also going to beat itself up here in a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. The top video from the weekend is the Phillies Karen. If you haven't seen it yet, let us know. 8772 RadioU. This was at a Phillies-Marlins game on Friday night in Miami, though you wouldn't know it from the crowd in the video. It's all Phillies fans. Harrison Bader of the Philadelphia Phillies hits a home run. It goes into an empty row. No surprise. It's the Marlins Stadium.
It's the Marlins.
And a group of people, all because it's an empty row, like all kind of rush towards it. And a man winds up getting it from a few seats over. He had rushed over. And you can see on this video, he runs back and hands it to his son. Son who, I don't know. How. Apparently, I'm bad at estimating age. Allie, how old would you say he is?
I'd say probably like 9, 10.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can go with that. And it's a nice moment. The dad gives it to his son. He's so proud. The son seems happy. And then within seconds.
It's not very far. Not very long.
A woman directly out of Central Casting in a Phillies jersey comes over and starts screaming at the man to give her the ball. And there's that's what was on TV.
Yeah.
Somebody sitting nearby got video from close up where you can hear what she's saying. She says, "That was mine." And so she argues and yells at this man and his son for a moment. And the dad eventually gives up and takes this ball out of his son's glove and gives it to this woman. And she has since become the top enemy online. For anybody that's seen this video, I don't know anybody that's siding with her.
No. Marlins gave him merch because of this, gave this little boy merch.
Yeah.
Harrison Bader gave him a signed bat. Harrison Bader's the one who hit the home run.
It's worked out okay for the son.
Oh, absolutely. Because everyone realizes watching this clip, this lady looks like a psycho.
Yeah. Yeah, she's absolutely in the wrong.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't even know what claim could this man didn't rip it out of her hands.
Right. She didn't have the ball. and the dad is actually in his row. He doesn't get out of his row to come to her and get it.
That's why he was able to get to it fast, because he was running sideways, like through the row sideways, where everybody else had to go over or behind, reach over the seats.
She's in the row above it, so it didn't even land in her row. I don't know why she thought she was supposed to get this ball.
I'll tell you why, because she's entitled.
Yeah, well,
she felt entitled to that ball.
Yeah, 100% she did. And she walks over. The dad is shocked. In the video, it's actually kind of funny because he's having a very sweet moment with his son.
He looks like a cartoon character, the way his eyes pop out of his head, his body shakes.
Yeah, because
he's getting accosted by this lunatic.
Because she grabs him. Like, she was very aggressive. And a lot of people around the man and the woman are filming because it's crazy with what this woman is saying and doing. And they're like, what in the world is she thinking? And so no one agrees that this woman was in the right and that she had this ball and that this ball was hers, as she claims. It wasn't.
It's tough because anytime with this, like when somebody seems to be acting so horrible in public, I kind of want to know the backstory, or like not rush to judgment of like, this woman is the worst. But there's nothing, this video we've seen enough that this woman is so in the wrong that honestly, like, I'm glad Harrison, the boy, got to meet Harrison Bates. Like, it's actually turned out even better for him, I think, than had he just gotten the ball, even though that should just be a nice father-son moment and that should be enough.
Yep.
But it's not enough for me. Harrison Bader should fire this woman from her job. He should, like, whoever she works for, get a cameo, Harrison Bader, firing her. That's the only way I will be satisfied.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I guess it wasn't at her job, but still, like, she needs to learn she's not entitled. I'm really upset that the man gave her the ball back.
I'm upset too, but I don't think you can blame the father for giving in, because you don't know this woman. Is she going to start, trying to hit you? Is she going to do something crazy? You don't know. And so you're just trying to get her to go away.
Yeah. I mean, security would have been there in 5 seconds. I'm not going to start talking about how the guy sucks, because he doesn't.
He doesn't at all.
And he was just trying to make the situation go away, trying to de-escalate.
Yes.
But he also shouldn't have. He should have just kept it.
Well, clearly he's a nice guy.
Yeah. Do you think you've aged since COVID hit? 8772 RadioU. Hard to believe. 5 years ago, over 5 years ago is when the COVID pandemic got started and everybody was locked down. But it has been over 5 years now, and people are blaming what they call the COVID pause for feeling like they haven't aged since COVID hit.
Okay.
Blaming, is that the right word? Because they're seeing it as like, I don't know if they're exactly, people are saying it's a negative, but they're feeling like they just haven't grown up in the past 5 years. They just stayed what they were when COVID got started. Allie, does this ring true to you?
I don't know if I would say it rings true for myself, but we certainly have seen evidence, and like there's studies that have shown that kids that were in school at the time during COVID, they have experienced a lot of developmental delays. That just because life was not normal, there was a lot of things where, even when they did go back to school, they were not seeing the faces of other kids, of their teachers. So they might have issues with reading. They might have issues with comprehension and all sorts of different things that have been proven just because life changed and life halted.
Right.
So I do think that there is evidence to show that people that experienced life with COVID, especially if they were young and in school, they definitely have a delay of just not having the normal phases of life.
If COVID struck if that was during your formative years of like when you were still in school, of course, educationally and socially,
you'd be behind.
Yeah, that makes sense. This is more adults, like Gen Z and millennials that would have either been finishing up school or would have been already done, saying that they feel like they haven't aged at all in the last 5 years.
First I've ever heard of this concept, but I don't think it's necessarily wrong, because if it impacted kids, why would it not also impact young adults, with their growth and their development in life?
I think everybody's blaming COVID for this.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know about everybody, but the people that are complaining or saying that it's the COVID pause that makes them feel like they haven't aged in 5 years. Once you, like, I would say graduate college, you like, it's very rare in any 5-year period, I would think, that you do feel like you've aged. Unless you hit some milestones, unless you're like, when you go from being single to getting married, or like that feels like a milestone where it feels like you age a bit around that time frame. Or obviously when you have kids, or if you go from being married to being divorced or whatever, like that's, you switch jobs. Like if you go through a milestone in those 5 years, then it will feel like you've aged. But like 25 to 30, how different do you feel? 35 to 40, how different do you feel? I don't think, canceling out COVID, I feel like any 5-year period for most adults, you probably don't feel that much different from how you did 5 years ago.
Yeah, unless, like you said, you've had a major life change, like had a baby or, you know, bought a house or whatever. And so a lot of times people are doing those things during that period of their lives. And so I think what people are pointing out, and this is just an impact of the culture in general, maybe not necessarily because of COVID, young adults aren't really hitting those milestones at a regular pace of what we've seen in the past. And we've talked about this before. And so that might also lend to why you're not feeling like you're aging.
Right.
Because you're not hitting the regular adult.
Getting your own home and moving in and getting married and blah, blah, blah.
So you're not hitting the regular adult milestone, so you feel like you're not really
you feel like
older.
You're still 22, even though you're 27 now.
Right.
But like I'm telling you, COVID and social media are the two hobgoblins that just get blamed for everything right now.
They have a part to play, but they're not everything.
Yeah. It's stop. Especially COVID. It's been so long now. Like, let's move on. We were just talking about how, nowadays it seems that people aren't hitting the adult milestones. And we actually had a story about that a while ago where the classic adult milestones, including buying a house, people aren't hitting as routinely or by the same age points as they used to in the past. Now, make sense of this, Allie. The perfect salary, according to Americans, the average American says they would be happy earning $74,000 a year. That salary would not really be able to allow you to afford a home in the average home in 48 out of 50 states of the United States.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
You literally need to be married or have like 2 incomes to be able to afford a home. Yeah, and making the so-called perfect salary is like, that's just one part of that.
Yeah.
You know? And
having the perfect... So what's the weird thing about this, right, is maybe people just don't realize this when
I think people just don't realize the math.
Yeah, you're like, $74,000, that's double what I make now. I'd be so happy. It almost is double the median income, which is actually crazy too in the United States, that the average or the median income is $42,000. So $74,000, nearly twice that, and you're like, if you're making $42,000, you're like, if I made double what I made now, I'd be so happy, and I'd be able to do so many things. But you wouldn't be able to afford a house. You probably don't realize it, but you wouldn't.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to afford
unless you move to Louisiana or West Virginia.
Oh, okay. Well, West Virginia's not far from us, so.
Also not where I think a lot of people are really jazzed about looking for a home there.
No, and also not a place where you probably would anticipate to be making $78,000 a year.
That's right.
So you have to factor that in too. Where are the high-paying jobs at? Well, they're in the cities of major states and major cities and all of that. And so there's a lot of factors involved in this, but yeah, it's when you look at how much money you need to be making as just like a household to buy a house, it's like $100,000.
Yeah. You got to be having that 6-figure income just to simply buy a house. So you could be sad about this. We could take a lot of sad angles of thinking about how it's sad that houses are so expensive and that it's so unattainable to the average American, or we could take the happy view and say that it's nice that the average American, it would be so easily satisfied. We could be happy so easily. We don't even need a house to be happy.
That makes me even more sad because this shows you for the first time our generational expectations are so much lower. We always wanted to leave the world a better place. Like, we want a better future for our kids. And now we're leaving them a worse future. We're like, our expectations are so low. We want to make enough money to not even be able to afford to buy a home.
I was trying to have a positive outlook
there is
here.
no positive spin for this. This is all sad. Thanks for listening to the RadioU podcast. Don't forget to rate and review the show.